Now, to animate our scene, we need to position the camera very well, so that the camera, of course, is focusing on the asteroid itself. But before that, let's open up our particle flow window. Let's work on the universe particle flow, because the problem is that if we try to render things now, as you can see, of course, it's quite dark. It's quite dark. We can't see the stars at all. So that, of course, means our particle flow, our object here needs to be adjusted, because chances are its dimensions are just too big. So to do that, we are going to first turn each of these options here to 0, okay, so that we can work from that. So for the width, for the length, we're going to enter the length size of, let's see, 1850. I'm using these settings because I've tried them, of course, and they've worked. Okay. For the width, how about 30,320? That spreads them out like that. And then for the height, we're going to enter the height of 500. So you can see, of course, what it looks like right now. Yeah, that's what it looks like at this point in time. If you were to rotate, yeah, so you can see, of course, what it looks like right now. Now we have to position the camera, of course, in the center of everything. Select the camera and its target. Select the moving tool, and then we're going to right click on it and turn each of these units here to 0 by right clicking, of course. Okay, and then we are slowly going to see, where's the camera? Yeah, we're going to select the camera itself now and slowly move it out, as you can see, and tilt it, not like that, sorry, just to come to the side, like that and like that. We are going to change the moving option here to local. Yeah, move it like that. You see, now we, of course, we are better capable of manipulating exactly where we want the camera to be positioned. Okay, great. Now let's try and preview this. Can you see now? Whatever white things or blue little objects that we have there, you see? Now those are the stars that we've been working on. Okay, if you try to rotate, now you should see more of them in the distance. You see, those are the stars. See that, especially they become more visible when you turn on the alpha channel option. Okay, just let's see, open up the universe particle flow again. Change the display here to a completely white color, okay, because obviously stars are white in color. You see that? Great. Okay, now of course that means we should be capable of doing whatever we want, but first, of course, let's select, let's see, open up the particle flow window. Start by turning on the fire particle flow. Let's see, which direction does it go in? Oh yeah, that's the direction. So that means, of course, we have to rotate the camera to face the right direction. And on top of that, it looks like we have to rotate the universe particle system by selecting the rotation tool. And we're going to rotate it like that, 90 degrees, like that, so that it flows like that. Okay, perfect. And I believe that can only make sense. Yes, it does. Okay, all right. Then go to rendering, render, change this to a proper output setting. I'm using HDTV 720p. Make sure it's active time segment of 0 to 1500 frames. Okay, and guess what, if you press F9 right now, you should see what we get. You see that our particles are on fire, and of course we have our little stars nicely appearing in the scene because their proportions are now correct. Okay, and then Let's see. Select the camera and its target. Turn on auto key. And then create a keyframe for them right there. And this is what needs to happen next. Because we want to work very quickly, we're going to select the universe particle system. Just open up the particle view. And we're going to turn off every particle system, including the universe, of course. Okay. That way, of course, we can work quicker by focusing just on the asteroid. Select again the camera and its targets. As you can see, we have a keyframe there. So in the beginning, we want to zoom to start from outside, and also we want to be tilted a bit to the front like this. Okay. Then we're going to jump to frame 150. Now this is when we're going to rotate slightly and also zoom onto the object. Right click on the viewport label and select show save frame, so that of course we can see exactly what will appear in the final render. Perhaps a bit too much onto our faces. So basically the animation goes like this. You see that? Okay. Remember, this all really depends on you and how you want the animation to look. Okay. The main thing is having the stone in the center of the attention. Okay. Yeah, and then perhaps at frame 470 or 80, again we can turn around. You see that? And slightly focus on the stone again, so that we have this kind of animation. You see that? This one we are really up close and personal with the stone. Remember, the stone is standing still, but the camera gives a nice illusion of motion. And then of course, once you are done with it, maybe at frame 1000, we can again rotate again, but this time zoom out at the same time as well, and then move it to the side. But of course, we end up getting such an animation. That way, of course, we have more of the particles coming at the back here in view. Remember, this stone here won't render. Okay. Great. Okay. Remember, as I said again, this all depends on you and how you want the animation to turn out. Okay. By the way, I'm using this key toggle option here so that we can move between keys instead of wasting too much time. You see? We simply jump between keys. Okay. By the way, if you don't like the last keyframe, you can always delete that, so that instead of doing what I have, you can then have a rotation followed by okay, let me change the moving mode here to view. Yeah, followed by simply the camera moving backwards like that. Okay, so that we have the illusion that the stone is passing us by. In that case, of course, that means our animation might just last a few frames, but that shouldn't happen too quickly, because of course we still want to have everything in view. You see that? So that's when the stone is passing us by. So even around here, you might want to zoom out, you know. Remember, the idea is to have still everything in view. So we might focus on the debris for a few seconds before, of course, we zoom out and watch things go by again. Okay. And also, of course, just to add to the element of animation, you can always select the stone. Let's delete whatever keys it had there. Turn on auto key. Move forward in the timeline. Yeah, and just rotate it on its local axis. Yeah, just rotate it roughly a bit. Okay. This is just to add, a little animation punch to it, so you can see, of course, what happens. Now the stone, of course, will begin to animate itself. It might not need to animate itself in the beginning, so we're going to select that key, shift and drag it forward, okay, so that it maintains its position and its rotation information until, of course, around this point here. Yeah, that's when it can begin to rotate and wobble about. Okay. All right. Now, once you've done all that, then we can go to rendering. Sorry, we can open up the particle flow windows again. and yeah, turn every one of them back on. See that by clicking on the little light bulb? Yeah. And then of course you can scrub forward. What does it look like at this point? Just press let's see, F9. A ball of fire indeed, eh? Crossing the sky. This is looking miraculous. Fantastic. Look at that, eh? Now this is really what we're on about. And then of course I'm about to show you what happens when we bring it to After Effects for post-production. That's the alpha channel, you know. This is looking really good. Okay, so basically once you're happy with the result, of course now you go to rendering, render. I'm going to change my range here to just up to 1,000 frames, you know, because I can see what it has. Go to the files, and then of course here we're going to click to create a file here, Apocalyptica. File type, well, it must be a file type with an alpha channel, so we're choosing PNG. Save, and then make sure of course it has alpha channel option turned on. Okay, then of course once you've done that you can hit render. Now you can see of course 3D Max begins to render the animation for us. Okay, now once I've done that, I'm going to show you what to do with it, of course, when we bring it to After Effects. So be patient with it until of course it finishes rendering. Okay, we are now in After Effects, and this is where we're going to take our Apocalyptica asteroid blowing into space animation. We're going to take it to the next level. Let me show you how. We're going to go to File, Import, File. As you can see, I have my image sequence here of PNG files, as I told you guys to do. Of course, when it's a PNG, you can see it just looks like a stone doing its own thing. Make sure it's a PNG sequence, of course, and then hit open. And then, of course, drag it to a new composition. That way, of course, it creates this layer for us. When we play this back, what we have is simply an animation here. And I must say, on its own, it's already looking stunning, eh? Look at that, eh? So what we have is a stone, you know, blowing through space at 1,000,000 kilometers an hour, eh? Even faster, who knows? But this is looking epic, you know? Now, let me show you what we're going to do with it now. Remember, this is what it's looking like right now, okay? If you're like me and you like going into the detail of things, you can see when we are really close, things look a bit different from when we are a bit far away. And you can see, of course, how the motion blur is really helping the fire particles really to look even better. You see that, yeah? So we have the debris, the smoke, the fire, you know, and of course a million kilometers an hour top speed. Oh yeah, so yeah, here is how we're going to make our scene look even more stunning. This is what we're going to duplicate this layer here. So select it, go to edit, duplicate. Okay, so that of course now there's one on top of itself. Now you can see the difference when you turn it on or off. That's when it's on, that's when it's off. You can see, of course, it adds a little bit detail. Okay, and this is what I really like about post-production. You can really get something to look better than what it was. For the transfer mode, we are going to change it to hard light there. Now can you see that now the fires are more rich, you know? Remember, this was before. You see, when it's before, it's a bit dried up, and this is after. You see that? Really, simply by turning this option on of hard light, After Effects really gives us almost exactly what we want already, you know, by intensifying colors to make them the way they have to be, you know. So that's really powerful. Now let's add more special effects to it to make it stand out even better. And I bet you, if you're like me, you're also feeling like, you know, you are sitting at the high-end production of things, but let's not get too much of ourselves, and let's get this finished first. We're going to make the color correction even better by doing the following. We go to Effect, Color Correction, Equalize. Now this will enable us to bring out the whiteness of the fires a bit more, to make them stand out a bit more, you know. Right now, of course, a bit too much, so we're going to reduce it a bit, you know. How about 34%? Yeah, that's much better. You know, it's subtle, but you can see of course the impact that it has. Okay. I don't know, but I'm still surprised that this is already achieved simply by duplicating the layer on top of itself. Can you imagine? This was before and this is after. Let's continue. Remember, this is glow. Some of these stuffs are supposed to glow, so let's make them glow by going to Effect, Stylize, Glow. Of course, right now this is too much glowingness. It looks too cheap. So let's adjust the parameter. We're going to reduce the glow intensity a bit. Okay. Yeah, I think 0.6 is alright. And what colors have to glow? Well, let's change the glow colors to A and B colors. Yeah, like that. Now, by doing that, here's what we have. Boom! Look at that, eh? This is truly cinematic, eh? Look at that. Everything is on fire, you know? This truly reminds me of the film Armageddon, you know? Oh no, this is so wonderful. Look at that. Don't be scared if you're looking at this on your screen, guys. Your screen is not about to blow, okay? It's just the world which is about to end. Oh yeah, this is truly phenomenal. Look at that. Great. Now, to add even more drama, we need something believable to add on top of this, and that is a camera shake. Because I mean, no self-respecting human will be recording this from space without, you know, having his body shake. So let's go, unless of course you're Chuck Norris, huh? The man with no fear. Anyways, I'm going to drag this layer to a new composition. Remember, so far everything is just smooth. We go to layer, new adjustment layer, and to it we're going to add a slide effect. Or to effect, expression controls slider. And then we come here, press P for the position. Now, one very important thing to mention is that the effect that we're about to apply can also be found when you go to henrythejedi.com and you go to the tutorials page. If you scroll down, we have a gazillion tutorials out there to help you guys. And when you scroll down, yeah, we have this popular one here, After Effects and Mesh DVD Fire and Explosion. Yeah, this is where you also learn how to add a powerful camera shake to the scene. Okay, so we are going to use the technique from there basically. So in here we are going to alt click on the position, and then we're going to add a wiggle effect. So wiggle, open the bracket, 5, comma, enter the 9, and then close the bracket. Okay. Now, what that means is the following. Let me create a little preview here between here and there. What that means, of course, is the following. You see that? Now, you can feel the motion of the asteroid in space because of the heavy shake that's taking place. In fact, the shaking is not so heavy yet, but of course you can see already just how much realism has been added to our scene just by adding a little wiggle operator. I mean, you gotta love post-production and animation, eh? Let's proceed. Now, we want to control just how much the wiggle takes place, especially when the asteroid really comes up close and personal with the camera. So that's why we're going to do the following. We're going to expand the settings here and the effects slider control, okay? We go back to the wiggle expression here, select the 9, and then we're going to delete it, okay? And then basically what needs to appear is it's wiggle open bracket 5, comma, and then we're going to pick the other value from the slider so that we can manipulate it independently. Okay, and then close the brackets. Okay, yeah, let me just expand these options here so that you guys can see exactly what the wiggle expression says. Let me copy that into Notepad. So this is Notepad. Basically, as you can see, the wiggle expression goes as follows. We are going to wiggle 5 times according to the value here that we're getting from the slider control. Okay, remember, of course, we've closed the bracket. Okay, that way, right now, if we preview this, nothing happens because, of course, the slider control's value is set at 0. But then, the moment we push this, let's say to 30, okay? Remember, we've now pushed this to 30, and it has to affect the scene. By doing that, ho, the asteroid goes insane in space. Look at that, eh? So it's going so quickly. Remember, in 3D Max, we didn't animate the position of the stone. The stone is simply standing still. But because of the special effects that we've applied and the very clever camera technique that we came up with, it really gives the impression that the asteroid is in full motion. No, this is quite wonderful. Now we are going to keyframe the stones, the shakiness accordingly. Okay, we are going to manipulate exactly where and how we want it to happen. And so in the beginning, this is what's going to happen. We're going to click on the stopwatch there for the slider. This is of course too much for our liking in the beginning, so we're going to reduce this to 2 when it starts up. And then let's move forward in time until of course we begin to get very close to the stone itself. So create a keyframe there. And then yeah, there needs to be some shakiness over here. That's when we're going to push it all the way to something like what? Yeah, something like 35 units or so. And then it should still be shaking, okay, until it passes us by. So around here we're going to reduce it maybe to 20 something units. And then of course around there we can reduce it to 9. Okay, now when all that happens, what you'll actually be forced to do is the following. As you can see there at the edge there, After Effects will begin to cut off the layer there, because of course it's moving very quickly in space, and of course its position is being shifted about a lot. So here's how to fix that. Select the layer and then we go to Effect, Stylize, Motion Tile, Mirror Edges, and then we're going to increase the output width like that. You see that? Just make it 200. And the height as well to 200. Okay, that way of course it never gets cut off. You see, for instance, in this point, especially here, you see here, if that special effect was off, you see, we would have a cut-off layer there. So thankfully, Motion Tile is at hand. And again, as I said, you will find a lot of mentioning of that in that very good tutorial that we have over there on the explosion. That way, of course, now you can see the layer is free to do whatever it needs to do in the scene. So 3, 2, 1, and action. Boom. Oh yeah, you see how the camera shake really takes this to the next level, eh? It adds so much believability to our scene, along with the glows of the fire. Oh my goodness, isn't the universe a wonderful place where anything can happen? Look at that, eh? Whoa. Of course, it's all up to you guys. You can make this even more shaky than I have done. And for me, this is where the road truly ends. I've shaken it as much as I could. Thank you so much for having joined me on this amazing apocalyptical video tutorial. If the world really ends while you're watching this, please don't blame me, okay? Just thank yourself for having taken your knowledge to the next level. Remember, we have got a lot of more tutorials really covering the topics of 3D and animation, you know, so check it out at our tutorials page at Henrythejedi.com. And please support us by purchasing our training DVDs. They really take your knowledge of 3D and After Effects to the next level. We've got quite a few of them, you know, just to keep you going really in this world of amazing animation. Right now our latest one is the 722, yep, in which we are going to show you how to design and texture a very highly detailed model of the famous McLaren SLR Roadster. And of course we can forget the bouquets, fireworks, digitally transformed, in which we show you how to take your robot and make it into a dancing car, you know. Yeah. So thank you so much for having joined me. My name is Henrythejedi, and you are looking at the 722 model. And I hope to teach you even in that one as well. So thank you so much for having watched. My name is Henrythejedi from Henrythejedi.com indeed. We do believe in possibilities. Goodbye.